Welcome to the Healthy Heart Show, where we pull back the curtain on conventional medicine and dive into the root causes of cardiovascular health. If you are concerned about high cholesterol, high blood pressure, heart attacks, stroke, or atrial fibrillation, this is the place for you. We will provide natural heart information that will help you prevent, treat, and reverse any ailment, leaving pills and procedures out of the picture. Here are your guides to holistic heart health, board-certified cardiologist and Amazon best-selling author, Dr. Jack Wolfson, and natural heart doctor, naturopathic physician, Dr. Lauren Lattanza. Welcome to the Healthy Heart Show. I am Lauren Lattanza, your host today, and we've got an excellent show for you looking at how we can get all of you to your 100-year heart. We bring in experts from around the world and bring you some different perspectives about how to keep your heart health going for 100 years. Today's interview is one that I've been definitely looking forward to. Lots of excellent information. We have Brian Hoyer. He is one of the world's top EMF mitigation specialists and a functional nutritional therapy practitioner. He founded Shielded Healing in 2017 with the goal of helping modern humanity recreate electromagnetic environments that more closely mimic our historic human habitats. His work has helped connect the EMF mitigation world with the health and wellness industry. Shielded Healing travels all over the U.S., guiding people through the process of creating ancestral healing spaces in their homes, offices, and workspaces. They work with contractors and offer consultations to customize EMF shielding for homes and businesses from the ground up in new construction and in remodels. In addition to home EMF assessments and construction consultations, Shielded Healing works closely with many functional medicine doctors, hospitals, and clinics around the world to provide EMF shielding solutions and building protocols to aid their patients in reducing the EMF exposures we have in our modern world. Brian and his team are the favorite EMF consultants for many notable names in the wellness and biohacking community. Brian is a husband, father of 4 children, and loves being part of innovation and designing healthier products and environments. Welcome to the show, Brian.
Yeah, it's great to be here. I'm looking forward to reaching your audience and answering some questions for you, and also just helping people to live a healthier lifestyle. We so often are just bombarded with information from all sides, and it's hard to kind of sift through everything. And EMF is definitely one of those topics where a lot of people just kind of throw their hands up at some point and they're like, I don't even know what to do. Well, exactly. We've kind of sifted through all the information, and I feel like we have a high level of integrity in the work that we do and the results that we see with people. So very excited to be here for this interview and on this podcast. So thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And definitely something that, like you said, either people just throw their hands up and there's nothing I can do about it. This is the world we live in. But we certainly appreciate what you're doing for, patients across the country that are like, okay, there's got to be something I can do. So where can people start and all of this? So if we could kind of just give like a good kind of overview about what sorts of frequencies you work with, what we might look for, and what we're commonly exposed to, kind of just a good intro for our listeners.
Yeah. So basically, when we think of frequencies, there's all types of frequencies that are around us, especially today, now that we've created alternating current electricity. And I think the very most basic way to understand this is that humans were not created and did not evolve to be in an environment where we have these certain types of frequencies. There's a set of frequencies that are more ancestral that have been on Earth since humanity started, since the beginning of creation or the beginning of the Earth. And so separating them out into natural types of electromagnetic fields and the unnatural types of electromagnetic fields that's kind of the best way to help people understand kind of our approach and the way that we want to approach EMF shielding and getting results with the human body in the way that we do. So when you walk into your house, you have electricity. You can turn on lights. all of that is technology, and it's a type of electricity that we use that was never found on this earth before about the late 1800s, when Nikola Tesla basically invented alternating current electricity. And so Thomas Edison, he was actually working on DC current, and that's when he invented the light bulb. He invented the light bulb using DC current. And that's the same type of electricity you find in the earth and also in the human body. And what we found is that the alternating current, it's a pulsed current. And if you think about anything in nature, there's very few things in nature that are pulsed. Even when you're thinking of like the sunrise and the sunset, there's not usually drastic changes. Things happen slowly over time. And so like when the sun rises and sets, it changes spectrum throughout the day and it gradually goes down, and there's this letdown. And then the beams of sunlight, they're not flashing, they're just beaming down because they're this really hot source of this really crazy source of heat that produces light, and it beams down on us, just like what a fire does. Fire is heat and light in one, and we're getting a constant source of light from that. So in nature, we don't have those pulsations, we don't have the flickering, we don't have anything of that source. But what we've created in our world today, in our homes that we're surrounded with, is a pulsating frequency of 60 hertz for our electrical system. And there's a magnetic component and an electric component to that can be measured separately at that 60 hertz frequency. And so those are two of the things that we measure when we come into people's homes. And then there's the wireless radiation that is probably the most popular topic right now when it comes to EMF mitigation. Is, oh my gosh, all these frequencies, they're increasing, 5G, and there's so much information out there about what 5G is, what it isn't. And but these frequencies we didn't have before either, and they're just floating through the air, sending information through the air, and they've got a waveform that our bodies don't recognize, and we've never been exposed to that before. So what our goal is really in our assessment of people's situations in their homes and workplaces, and for many clinics that we work with around the world, is we want to recreate a more ancestral environment in your home, but especially in the places where you eat, where you sleep, and where you detox, because that's when your body is supposed to be in this parasympathetic state. You're supposed to be able to relax and everything. And so we focus in on those areas, and we work to reduce exposure as much as possible. And then there's levels that we are able to measure to where, we see the best results once you get below this level. So we measure all things on the electromagnetic spectrum, including light, because light is on the electromagnetic spectrum. So we've already talked about electric fields, magnetic fields, there's artificial light. There's also frequencies that are riding on the electrical system that are in a higher range. That's referred to as dirty electricity.
Okay.
And then we talked about wireless radiation. And then another type is geopathic radiation that's coming up from the earth. So our ancestors actually knew about this, but there's pockets, there's ore deposits, there's these currents called telluric currents that flow along the surface of the Earth's crust, and they're more intense in some areas than others. And animals have learned to avoid those areas instinctually. And our ancestors, like all around the world, there's different traditions where they know that you get sick if you're in this area. So like the Chinese had feng shui, the Greeks and Romans, they used to have their animals sleep and graze on land for a year before they would decide to build, to see if the animals were healthy. And so they had this knowledge about, okay, where are the healthiest places to live? Where are we going to thrive the most? And so that's kind of the overview of all the different types that we test for. There's some that are man-made. There's only one that's natural, that our ancestors learned to avoid and animals learned to avoid. But we focus mostly on getting that home environment back to a healing environment. And there's really no way that we can do that without taking some drastic measures today, because we have so much that's changed in even just the last 10 years, not to mention 20, 30 years, but all the way back to the invention of electricity. I mean, our environment is completely different than it was just 150, 160 years ago.
Yeah. If our ancestors could see us now, I mean, they knew to avoid it. They knew that they felt sick and the animals would get sick. And then here we are, like, thriving in these, well, are we thriving? Not really, but just densely populating these downtown city environments that are just completely radiated with all of this day and night. So I like that you put it in such a historic lens, and it's quite elegant to look at it in an ancestral light. Because can you kind of dive into how that plays on us, as we are electric and we are magnetic beings? And so what kinds of symptoms and such would people notice in more radiated environments?
Yeah. So one of the things to understand is that when we're talking about this type of radiation, it's a non-ionizing type of radiation. So it's not like nuclear radiation. The damage happens with similar mechanisms in the body, with hydroxyl free radicals and then also peroxynitrite. So there's nitrogen species and hydrogen species that become free radicals in the body. But and because it causes oxidative stress like that, it can happen in any tissue where your body is already experiencing oxidative stress, because it stimulates these voltage gated calcium ion channels to produce free radicals in the tissue in those areas. And so wherever you have more of oxidative damage happening, it has the potential, when you're exposed to EMF, for that part of your body to have even more damage happen.
It's like more targeted almost.
Yeah, it's more targeted. So that results in people having a plethora of symptoms that they have, over time, we've related that to electromagnetic radiation exposure that's in the non-native form. So non-native would mean not of this earth. It's something that we brought to this planet with an invention, with Nikola Tesla. So we, a lot of our customers have symptoms. Like, one of the biggest ones is you're most vulnerable when you're sleeping. So insomnia is a huge one. And then a lot of people do have brain fog, headaches. There's also many people that have, heart arrhythmias and racing heart, anxiety, those sorts of things. And then there's some more obscure symptoms like night sweats. We had one woman who had night sweats for like 2 decades. And then we worked and shielded her room and did a whole protocol for her bedroom. And they just stopped overnight and never came back.
Oh, wow.
To my knowledge. So, and then there's people, like, it can affect your thyroid in a big way. We've had multiple people now getting off their thyroid medication within 1 or 2 days of having a shielded room. And so, the thing about these frequencies is, depending on what frequency it is, each frequency has a wavelength. And they call it wavelength because there's a certain length that the wave is. And so if that wave is the same as like your thyroid, it's going to resonate more with the thyroid and cause more stress to the thyroid gland as a whole, because it does have it is its own organ, and it'll have its own resonant frequency. And so same thing with the adrenals or the liver or the skin is the biggest organ in the body. And that's the one that we measure the most when we're measuring wireless radiation. We can measure your whole body, all of your skin, as an antenna. And when we do that, we get to see which frequencies are actually impacting the body the most, because if this is your biggest organ and you've got these frequencies that are resonating with your skin, it's not only resonating and radiating out with a pulsed alien frequency, it's also pulsing inside your body as well. And so those frequencies are the ones that we see have a lot of impact on people that are the most sensitive.
Yeah, we're like just these giant receivers, and like you said, taking in these alien frequencies, and our body is just kind of responding to that as it would anything else. And that's, I feel like when we see a lot of these kind of autoimmune components being flared up, like you said, with the thyroid. So any patient that's maybe already been diagnosed with Hashimoto's, then they move into a building that's just really kind of flared up their symptoms. And that can be probably precisely why.
Yeah. And, like I was saying, we got several people that recovered. Like one of the recovered people, or the people that got off their thyroid medication, was a colleague of mine, another functional nutritional therapy practitioner. And she had a cell phone tower just like across the street. She could see it from her bedroom window, maybe like, 500-600 yards away. And we shielded her room, and the readings were great in there. But she sends me a message and she's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm like, I can't," like the first night, she's like, I feel like I can't sleep in my shielded room. And like, my heart's racing, my hands and feet are cold. My temperature is just going up and down. And then she's like, started to think about, okay, step back. Let me think about this as a practitioner.
Yeah.
These are all thyroid symptoms.
Yank the thyroid meds. And-
yeah. So she got off the thyroid. She's like, I'm going to not take my thyroid glandular today, and I'm going to see how I do. And she slept like a baby that night, better than she'd ever slept in years.
Yeah.
And she hasn't had to get back on it, to my knowledge. So it's pretty amazing that something like that, as simple as, it's not really simple, but something as simple as one stressor could be impacting your thyroid in a way that perpetuates a problem and a need for medication or a glandular or something that supports your thyroid.
Absolutely. It's just peeling back all these different layers of an individual's life. And that's why it is holistic medicine, because it's not just, oh, your thyroid has a problem. So, well, why does your thyroid have a problem? Is it in your environment? Is it in your diet? Is it in your lifestyle? So all of these different components. So I think that's why we love bringing all this information to these patients' minds that maybe they haven't considered. So I think that's excellent what you're doing. And you had touched on, of course, I think one of the major things that people consider and talk about anymore in terms of these EMFs is the implementation of 5G. So if you can maybe touch on that and how that's changed some of the frequencies in our cities and towns and what that means for us.
Yeah. So like before, we were talking about the length of the wave of the frequencies and how so far the cell phone frequencies are anywhere from like a few inches, maybe centimeters, all the way up to like feet, like even miles, actually, if you get into the AM radio stations. And then those wavelengths are many miles long. And so they actually bounce between the Earth's surface and the ionosphere up in the sky, above the sky, and then back down. The FM radio stations, those are the ones that are between like 4 feet and 8 feet. And so those ones are about the same height as the average human body. And those resonate most with the human body and our skin. But then when we get up to some of and a lot of the 5G frequencies are still the same as the cell phone frequencies that we have with 4G and 3G. And so those are actually intensifying with this fifth generation. That's what 5G stands for, is fifth generation of wireless technology. We got 3G and 4G frequencies that are increasing. But then with 5G, they're also adding what they call millimeter waves. And millimeter waves are, instead of them being inches or feet, they're actually down on the millimeter level. That's why they're called millimeter waves. And so, you think of the human body, like how many parts do we have? What sizes are they? Well, once you get down to millimeters, you're in a whole different zone of what can be affected on the body. And so skin cells are, in many studies, they show that skin cells are affected in the most impactful way with these millimeter waves compared to other types of wireless radiation. And kind of the silver lining of 5G is that it doesn't penetrate as deeply as these other longer wavelengths do. So in many ways, in my opinion, I think that like all this worry about 5G, it's kind of late to the party. We should have been worried on 3G and 4G when things are penetrating even deeper into the body. With 5G, I'm still concerned and it's still not good, but I mean, I think that 3G and 4G should have had the hype over 5G, honestly.
Okay. Well, I guess that's good to know. So there's some improvement where everything else is just becoming kind of these like smart things and these convenience measures that are just adding to the problem. So maybe we're stepping away in some sense.
Yeah, I think it's a catch-22 because 5G, because it doesn't penetrate as deeply, they have to increase the power, and then that actually makes it penetrate more. And so if you're closer to a tower, it can actually be very, very problematic for you.
Would like a safer distance be from a tower? So if you're looking for a home or office space, what kind of distance would you look for?
Yeah, that's a good question. We get that question a lot. It depends on the frequency. You know, if the frequency is a lower frequency with 3G or 4G, you have to be farther away from the tower. Mm-hmm. If it's a 5G tower, you could be safe with it just around the corner because it can't penetrate through the building.
Okay.
So, but if it's like right there in front of your house and it's blasting through your window, that could impact you in a really severe way. Mm-hmm. So, and also I just kind of want to differentiate, like 5G doesn't necessarily equate to meaning like millimeter wave, because like T-Mobile, their 5G network is based on 600 megahertz, which resonates a lot with the human body. And it goes even farther than most of the other frequencies, because the other cell phone companies are using like 700 megahertz up to about like 2000 megahertz for like their 3G and 4G networks. And 2000 megahertz is 2 gigahertz. So you get up to Wi-Fi, you're at 2.4 gigahertz on your Wi-Fi. And then you have 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi. But once you get up to about 5 gigahertz in frequency, it doesn't resonate as much with the human body, and it doesn't penetrate through walls very well. That's why, like, if you've noticed your home Wi-Fi network, it'll have a 2.4 gigahertz and a 5 gigahertz. If you've got good signal on your 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi, your 5G Wi-Fi, then it's faster. But you can notice, like, if you go the farthest away in your house from the router, you won't be able to get the 5G signal anymore, but you can still get the 2.4 gigahertz signal on your router.
Right.
And so that's because that 2.4 can go through walls easier. Okay. And everything, and the higher frequency one doesn't.
Wow. It's so interesting that there's so much even differentiation between like said cell phone companies that people don't think of this. I mean, you can really go down such a rabbit hole with all of this. So just learning so much from you. How specifically for our listeners might be interested in understanding how this could specifically affect the heart?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we've had many customers who didn't even know that they were electrosensitive, are sensitive to electromagnetic frequencies, and they had what they would describe as panic attacks, and or heart arrhythmias, or just a racing heart, like some kind of anxiety that just like all of a sudden it just like floods them, and that's kind of what people, and that's kind of what people feel when they're having a heart arrhythmia. Is like many people are just I wouldn't say just having a heart arrhythmia, but they're having a heart arrhythmia, and they're diagnosed with it being a panic attack. And multiple times for multiple customers, probably half a dozen customers that didn't even know that they were sensitive to EMF, they were diagnosed with a panic attack or heart arrhythmias or something like that. And then I go back and I talk to them, and we do like this little question and answer back and forth. And as a practitioner, I'm trying to think about, okay, where were you when you had this happen? What was around you? Where were you going? Were there any cell phones? Then you start to get into like more specific questions. Did you have a cell phone on your body? Did anyone else have a cell phone around you? Were you close to a smart meter? Well, what's a smart meter? Well, it's the electric meter that's on the other side of the wall that has these pulsations at 900 megahertz that specifically target the heart. And they're like, oh, well, actually, I don't know. And then they would go back and they'd look and like, oh my gosh, there's a smart meter like 3 feet away from where I started having my panic attacks when I moved into this apartment. And there's actually even a video on, it used to be on YouTube. I don't know if it's on there anymore, but they had somebody hooked up to an EKG machine.
Oh, wow.
And they had a meter that measures that graphs out the electromagnetic pulses, and they showed when the smart meter would pulse, it corresponded exactly with a heart arrhythmia in the person lying down right there.
Yeah. So you can just see it in real time.
Yeah. You can see it in real time. And if the pulses are what affect the heart the most, because it's like there's a signal that's happening, and it's almost like when you've got the defibrillator and you're pulsing energy through the heart, it jolts the heart in some way. And so if the frequency is just right, it's going to be doing that with those strong pulsations, especially. But you could imagine that even the constant pulsations from the cell phone towers, that's affecting us chronically all day long. Absolutely. in various ways as well. Mm-hmm. And so we've had many of our customers who do go through the shielding protocol in the bedroom and everything, and many of their symptoms go away. And like we were talking about before, it's kind of like a blanket oxidative stressor on the body, and it targets the areas where you've already got oxidative stress. So that's what makes it so problematic, and really one of the foundational things to if you're going down this ancestral health path and you're trying to eat more like your ancestors, you're trying to live more like your ancestors without the chemicals, without the toxins and everything that affect our bodies so profoundly in a negative way, that you have to not only be thinking about what you're putting into your body, but what you're putting the environment that you're putting your body into. And so, we definitely do not have this ancestral environment anymore. And it's getting worse and worse as time goes on, especially in this realm of wireless technology. We talk a lot about that, but also there's problematic things just inside your home, because the way we wire our homes, we don't use shielded wiring. We have this electricity that's coming out of the walls and basically stimulating your body with these micro pulsations at 60 hertz all night long while you're sleeping. And that's affecting people's hearts too, with just the 60 hertz.
The Healthy Heart Show will be right back after we take this quick break to hear from our sponsor. Would you like to drink great tasting coffee that's also good for your heart health? Cardiology Coffee is your answer. This 5-star rated coffee is delicious. It's a gourmet coffee that begins with whole organic beans, hand-selected and carefully roasted. It's tested and certified to be free of pesticides, mold, and other toxins. Cardiology Coffee is great for your heart, and you're going to love how it tastes. Order now online at cardiologycoffee.com. Now back to the Healthy Heart Show. So it's not just your Wi-Fi router or some of these more commonly considered things. It's so can you touch on maybe some of the appliances and just like even the walls and all of maybe lighting that can also be affected and taken into this whole picture? Yeah.
So one of the things that we do is we go into homes, we'll test the voltage on your bed, and we have this measurement that we do called body voltage. Mm-hmm. And we'll basically, we'll hook up a ground wire to our multimeter. And a multimeter is what a lot of electricians use to measure anything when they come to troubleshoot things in your home. And so they're very familiar with this device. But we'll measure your voltage compared to what it would be if you were outside barefoot on the ground, essentially. And sometimes people's voltage is as much as, I've had people who've had 15, 20 volts on their body, and that's 20,000 millivolts. And we want that number to be 0 ideally, but 10 millivolts is kind of the cutoff where we're like, if you have 10 millivolts, it's okay, but they're up at like 20,000. The average homes are probably around anywhere between 1,000 millivolts up to 6,000 millivolts. And that phenomenon is actually just from having electricity in the house with Romex wiring, which is the plastic wiring with the wires are inside. Very standard. Very standard. It goes through all the walls. It goes up to the lights. You're basically surrounding yourself in this electrified environment, this electric cage. And if you just kind of imagine when you go camping, you're going out into nature. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people sleep better for various reasons. They're not around electricity. They don't have the the artificial light around them to increase their cortisol and lower their melatonin. But imagine if you're pitching your tent and then, oh man, there's an electrical, outlet right there for me to plug in like my stove or whatever. You know what? I really want to feel like I'm back at home. So I'm going to plug in an extension cord here and let me wrap it underneath the tent or around the top of the tent, around the sides a few times. And that's the environment that we're living in at home.
Oh man.
And it's not natural. It's not something that our ancestors would have ever been exposed to. Yeah. And it's problematic even having something plugged in like that, because the voltage is still coming through there. Your body voltage is going to be around 12 to 15,000 if you grab that electrical cord while it's plugged in, because the cord's not shielded. And so a lot of what we're testing around people's homes, if you have electricity, there's nothing wrong there's no errors just because you have voltage in the home like this. It's just the way that we do things.
Right.
And so our goal is to mitigate that. But then also there are some wiring errors that we can detect in people's homes that cause a magnetic field. And those we actually work with the National Electric Code, because they're usually violations of the National Electric Code that cause the magnetic field to happen. Mm-hmm. And so we go in there with what's called a Gauss meter, and we're measuring the alternating current magnetic fields. And we can find current on pipes and also from wiring errors. And so we'll shut off circuits and figure out
water pipes even?
Yeah, even on water pipes, because a lot of our electrical system, if some of your listeners are living in the city, if you go down to where your water is, it's very common that we'll connect our ground wire for our electrical system to metal pipes. So if you live in the city and you have metal pipes, go down to where your water is and look and see if you have a ground wire connected to the metal pipes. It'd be a big copper wire that's just on there, and that goes right to your electrical system. And so any home in your neighborhood that has a wiring error, it can be dumping some neutral current from the circuit onto the pipes in the neighborhood, and that'll come up into your house and cause magnetic fields in your whole house. So there's ways that we work with people to fix that just in their own homes. Sometimes we might be able to determine which house it is just by going outside and walking
doors.
Yeah. So that's when it becomes kind of complicated, but that's what we do. We'll go into your house and figure out what's going on and help you have the best environment possible for you.
That's awesome. I think that's something that more of our listeners really need to consider for their home environments, like you said, especially kind of spaces of sleep and detox. Sleep is really such an important basis for all of health. And if you're just not able to sleep and kind of get into that parasympathetic state every night, then you're just riding this sympathetic wave all the time.
Yeah. And to that, we haven't talked much about light yet, but, we often focus on the spectrum of light, which is very important for sleep and staying in a more parasympathetic state during various times of the day. And, the big thing right now is blue light is bad, block the blue light and everything like that. And, I agree with that, but only after about 3 or 4 p.m. I agree with that, because you actually do need these blue wavelengths. You're getting them from the sun.
Exactly. In the morning and throughout noon. Noontime is when you're probably getting the most. And you need that because those wavelengths actually help you to produce serotonin, which is a precursor to melatonin later in the night. Mm-hmm. So if you're not getting that bright white light and blue light in your first half of the day, then you're not going to produce as much melatonin later. And it seems kind of counterintuitive, like blue light is supposed to suppress melatonin, but no, well, it actually helps you to produce serotonin in the beginning of the day. The whole process.
Yeah. So it goes back to following those ancestral circadian rhythms of okay, we're outside, we're following the frequencies and the spectrum of the sun. What's it doing? And that's kind of really our goal in people's homes, is to match the outside light environment with the inside in spectrum, but also in flicker. And a lot of our bulbs are flickering that we install in the house, even if they have a good spectrum,
Mhm.
even if they're a red light or whatever,
Right.
they still may flicker. And a lot of the reason that they're going to be flickering is because they're running on the pulsed electricity.
Oh.
And so you got this electricity that's going dot, 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 like 120 times back and forth per second. And some bulbs are not modulated or created or have the technology in them to dampen down that flicker. And they'll just turn off at the same frequency that it's going on and off.
Oh, wow.
And so you can actually take a slow motion video with your phone of all the lights in your house, and you can determine which ones are flickering and which ones are not flickering.
Okay.
And so generally speaking, incandescent bulbs are better than LEDs because they have a filament inside that heats up, and in between those pulses, it doesn't cool down all the way. It just cools down a little bit. And so you might have a little bit of a flicker, but not nearly as much. And the higher the wattage, and the higher the wattage the bulb is, the less it cools down between those pulses. So they've worked really hard to get rid of all this energy wasting bulbs and the higher wattage, and only allow like 60 watts or 75 watts incandescent bulbs. But that energy was never wasted. It was actually energy in the near infrared range that energizes our bodies and elevates our mood and stimulates the mitochondria because of the photobiomodulation effect of those near infrared spectrum on the incandescent bulbs. So it's and there are also some LED bulbs that don't flicker that we recommend. What
would you recommend for people to look for?
So you kind of need to go with you kind of need to buy two different sets of bulbs. And so you kind of need bulbs for the bare bones of your house that are like, okay, I actually need light. And I would recommend like 7,500 watt incandescent lights or halogen lights for like recessed lighting right now. But for LEDs, there's some brands of LEDs that look like this vintage style. There's one brand called Ascher, ASCHER, and you have to get the non-dimmable kind.
Okay.
And those ones have extremely low flicker and very little blue light as well. And then for nighttime, there's a brand you can get on Amazon, which a lot of people are actually trying to avoid Amazon lately. And so I don't know where else to get them right now, but they're called Sunlight, SUNLITE. And they're basically like party bulbs. You can get red, orange, and yellow. The yellow is actually pretty dim, but I would go with the orange or the red. And those are zero flicker, red and orange bulbs that you can use in lamps. And basically once the sun goes down, you just start turning on those lights. And you don't even, a lot of people wear the blue blocker glasses like the ones I have here.
Right.
And these are good. This basically turns everything into orange or red color,
Mimicking the afternoon sun and.
Yeah. But yeah, you don't want to filter out the sunlight. And I've seen people wearing these blue blockers at biohacking conferences outside or like at noon. And, you shouldn't be wearing this spectrum at noon.
Yeah. Not trying to block out afternoon sun. We're trying to block it out in the evening hours, right? Blue,
exactly.
Artificial ones.
Yeah. You're trying to mimic nature.
Right. And
if you're wearing these in the morning when you first get up, when the sun's already out, you're not mimicking nature. If you get up at what some would call the butt crack of dawn and the sun's still not out, you can wear these, and that way, but take them off as soon as the sun starts to peek over the horizon on your way to work, and open that window and get some unfiltered sunlight into your eye.
Yeah. Cause you need that. I mean, really for cognitive function and everything, your brain needs to register it's go time and we need to think and operate today. And back to the flicker. I mean, if you are able to kind of slow that down and look at the flicker, just even through your phone, you can imagine, and probably you could describe this better than I can, that it's just hitting your system as essentially a strobe light, which is not going to be great for the parasympathetic nervous system.
Right. Yeah. And one of the biggest classic signs that you're reacting to flicker is headaches. and also eye strain.
Okay.
And a lot of people in offices, they're under fluorescent lighting or LED lighting all day long, and they can't focus, they can't get work done, they have brain fog and their eyes hurt or whatever. That usually is related to flicker. I mean, there's other things in the office that can be stressing your body as well, but if it happens to tend towards the head, then yeah, it's flicker. And what's interesting is, with the work that I do as a nutritional therapy practitioner, there's a test for the adrenal glands called the pupillary reflex test. And you actually shine a battery operated non-flickering light into someone's eye in a dark space, and you can see their pupil pulsing.
Oh, wow.
And if it's pulsing, then that's a sign of adrenal fatigue. And if it just constricts and holds strong, then you actually have pretty strong adrenals. And so I think that this is a sign that, why is it pulsing? Because this is just a theory that I have. Maybe it's used to having flickering light all the time and trying to constantly adjust.
I'm sort of programmed.
Yeah. And so if you have flickering light all the time, your eyes are constantly trying to adjust to it. And what's connected to your eye in your brain? It's your hypothalamus and your pituitary gland. And so there's that HPA axis with the hypothalamus, pituitary, and adrenals causing the adrenal fatigue, which is why, many brilliant doctors decades ago discovered this correlation between the pupillary reflex and the adrenal glands. And it used to be something that doctors would use all the time to determine, different types of diagnoses as far as the adrenal glands go.
Yeah.
But yeah, the flicker isn't always something you can see. There's sometimes you turn on a light and you have the electrician come over and say, look, the lights are flickering. Can you fix this? This wouldn't even necessarily be a visible flicker. It's an imperceptible flicker that your brain can't process fast enough, but your eyes are constantly fighting against. And that's why people get the eye strain. That's why they start to get headaches, because their eyes are constantly trying to adjust.
Wow. So I wanted to also kind of ask you about, there are so many, little devices you can put this on your cell phone, you can put this on your computer to kind of mitigate some of these on a smaller scale than maybe the entire home or office shielding. Are there any with any validity? Because I know you're big on testing these products first, which is excellent. So you're not just spending the money and spending the time and resources without having it be an actual valid source of mitigating the problem.
Yeah. So there's many even multi-million-dollar companies that have become multi-million-dollar companies because they have some product they claim is quick and easy to put on your phone or your router or in your house to help mitigate the damage, or some of them even say it completely protects you. And honestly, a lot of the companies out there are bogus. And so it's much better to kind of step back and not be so anxious about the topic in general, and to say, okay, where am I going to spend my money wisely? How am I going to do this? Just like I was talking to a mold expert the other day. We're going to do some collaborative work together, and he was saying, anybody has an opinion on mold, and they can tell you to do this, and you can spend thousands and thousands of dollars, maybe tens of thousands of dollars on something that doesn't work. Well, it's the same way in the EMF space. You can spend a lot of money on things that aren't going to reduce your symptoms. The only thing that a lot of these companies have going for them, and there may be some legitimate ones too, I'm not saying that all of them are this way, but one thing that all of them pretty much have going for them is they've got, I call it a catalyst to the placebo effect. So you can get testimonials from anything. I could give someone this little fuzzy thing on my microphone and tell them that this is gonna completely shield you from all electromagnetic radiation in your house. And if they believed it, they would feel an impact because of the placebo effect. And I could get a great testimonial from them. And so, testimonials are great, but we need to not only use testimonials as something that convinces us of purchasing a product, especially if it's for our health. And I think that a lot of these companies are kind of just jumping on the bandwagon because they see an opportunity to make a lot of money. But there's some that have that I would consider more to be not just for EMF, but they're more on the reducing inflammation, and they're not really related to EMF blocking at all. They support the body in some way to help mitigate damage that the EMFs cause, but not any more than like getting a red light therapy panel or doing sauna. Those have very specific pathways that help reduce or even reverse EMF damage, because they're helping get nitric oxide out of the cell, and nitric oxide has to be in the cell in order for peroxynitrite to be created with superoxide in close proximity. So if it's working to do that, or even just exercising and getting your lactic acid moving and the nitric oxide into the blood veins, so you have that vasodilation, those are some strategies you can do to help reduce your damage by up to 80% when you have EMF exposure. Yeah. So there's different things you can do to help the body to mitigate the damage done from EMF exposure. But a lot of the companies that consider themselves to be harmonizers or putting out a beneficial frequency, they're not ever actually blocking the frequencies. And we've measured it. It doesn't make a difference in the damaging frequencies that are still hitting your body, but it may be helping you in some way, or it could just be a fuzzy ball.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that that's really important. If you're going to spend thousands of dollars on anything, be it mold remediation, EMF remediation, look for companies with integrity that have done that testing. And it's not just testimonials and some really excellent marketing, because those companies are out there, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Outside of like some of these devices and what have you, and are there like supplements that you might suggest or anything to help kind of be more protective for protecting during the day?
Yeah. So magnesium is a natural calcium channel blocker. Mm-hmm. And so one of the main studies on EMF damage and the mechanism of the EMF damage was put together by Dr. Martin Pall out of Washington State University. And what he found, like the studies that he was using, they showed like a group of people on calcium channel blockers and another group that wasn't. And they exposed them to the same level of EMF, and the people that were on the calcium channel blockers didn't have the same damage as the control group. Oh. And so the calcium channel blockers, I would never recommend any type of calcium channel blocker drug, but magnesium is a very beneficial mineral that has a similar effect to a calcium channel blocker, because magnesium and calcium are always kind of trying to be in balance. They're a little bit antagonistic, but also synergistic with one another. Mm-hmm. So that's one. And then anything that reduces oxidative stress can help as well. The molecular hydrogen, which mm-hmm. has a magnesium component in it. I think they use magnesium malate in that, on malic acid. And then, there's other antioxidants like glutathione, NAC, which is kind of been under fire lately from many different angles. And I wouldn't take NIC long term because it's a what do they call it? A mucinogenic. I can't even say that word.
Mucolytic. I abbreviate, needs a short version.
Yeah. Mucolytic. And so, it will help you get over respiratory illnesses and break up mucus, which is really important. I'm actually taking it right now because I've still got a little bit of a lingering cough. Mm-hmm. But over time, it can actually thin those mucous membranes. And so you don't want to take it long term, maybe 3 months maximum, or just, as needed.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of what I recommend. Like if you've got some excess mucus, if you've got some chest congestion, what have you, then use that to break it down, break it up. But otherwise, keeping some extra antioxidants, of course, the minerals, magnesium, keeping those things on board just to subdue and bring down those reactive oxygen species that are just going to occur just from our daily life, unfortunately.
Yep.
So one last question for you before I let you go here. How do you live a heart healthy lifestyle?
A heart healthy lifestyle? Well, one thing I do is I sleep in a shielded room every night. Then I think that's pretty healthy for my heart. And then the nitric oxide dumps, just getting some cardio every day, about 3 and it doesn't have to be a lot. A lot of people are doing these long distance things, which I don't necessarily agree that that's the healthiest thing to do. But like just getting your body moving about 2 to 3 times a day. And you can look up online, nitric oxide release workout. And that actually is something
like 4
huge.
minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a 4-minute workout, and you just do it 2 to 3 times a day just to get that nitric oxide out of your cell and your blood pumping and into all the extremities and everything. You can actually feel the nitric oxide, that tingly feeling is the nitric oxide doing its work. And when you get that out of the cells, it's 80% less EMF damage. So I would say that, plus living a healthy and happy lifestyle with food, and also just enjoying life with your family and friends. I think that's extremely warming for my heart, my emotional heart, because there's an emotional heart and a physical heart. And so I'd say, like, if you don't have joy in your life, find something that will bring joy, and that's going to help your heart for sure.
Yeah. And of course, you looking at everything ancestrally and trying to get back to our ancestral roots and stay there as much as you can in your lifestyle that has changed so much around us. So I think that you're doing an excellent job and doing excellent work. So why don't you tell our listeners one more time where they can learn more about what you're doing and find more resources that you've provided?
Sure. Yeah. My company is Shielded Healing right here. And so you can go to shieldedhealing.com and find out about us. I got to show you this shirt too. The back of it.
My kids are grounded every night.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So that's this is the shirt that we give to people after they've completed their shielding and they have children. They can wear this around and talk about how their kids are grounded every night. But another really huge resource that I want to tell your listeners about is we've got like this online course that's available called the Electropollution Fix. And so that it's like a 6-module course. And we basically take people through what you can do in your own home, the steps you can take right away, and educate you on many different aspects of all the different types of stressors that you can find in your home.
We will definitely be providing those links. I think that it's so important for everybody to get started and really get on this forward thinking motion of EMFs and mitigating them and grounding their children every night.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Brian. This has been just so educational for me. And I know for all of our listeners, we're going to really appreciate everything that you provided here today. And I look forward to hearing more from you and in the mold space as well. So keep up the good work.
Awesome. Thanks, Dr. Lauren.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Yep, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye. That does it for today's episode. Thanks so much for listening to The Healthy Heart Show. Please help us get the word out by liking and subscribing to our podcast and our Facebook page, Natural Heart Doctor. Please show support for our podcast sponsor, Cardiology Coffee, your resource for organic, antioxidant-rich, mold and pesticide-free coffee shipped straight to your door. Learn more by adding @cardiologycoffee on Instagram and visiting cardiologycoffee.com. This podcast provides materials for information and educational purposes only and should not be considered medical advice. We encourage you to contact your physician for any of the health issues discussed here.